The first thing that caught my eye at my mother's funeral was the woman's lipstick, bold, blood red, and flawlessly applied, completely inappropriate for mourning. But that was Malia for you, always determined to stand out, even at someone else's farewell. I'm Hope, and I was watching my father's mistress put on a show of grief for my mother. Susan had her own, unique ways, Malia told a small group of my relatives, dabbing at dry eyes with an expensive Prada handkerchief. But we all have our little quirks, don't we? I clenched my fists so hard my nails left crescent marks in my palms. It had barely been a week since Mom passed, and already this woman was trying to twist her memory. My gaze met my father's across the room, but he quickly averted his eyes, adjusting his tie, the nervous habit he always fell back on when uncomfortable. Hope, sweetheart, Lucille, my mother's closest friend and our family attorney, appeared at my side. Your mother would be so proud of how you're handling everything. By not tossing my drink on Malia's pristine dress? Because I'm seriously considering it. Lucille's lips curved slightly. Susan always said you had her fire. She gave my arm a reassuring squeeze. Stop by my office tomorrow. There are some things we need to go over. I nodded, but my attention was drawn back to Malia, who had moved on to another conversation. Oh yes, poor Susan was so confused near the end, mixing up her medications, forgetting important dates. She sighed dramatically. Gregory was so patient with her. That's a lie, I said, my voice loud enough to halt the murmuring in the room. Silence. My mother never mixed up her medication. She was sharp as ever until the day she died. Malia's precisely arched brows lifted. Hope, darling, grief can cloud our memories. Don't you dare call me darling. I stepped forward, my voice cold. And don't you dare pretend you knew my mother. Hope. My father's warning tone cut through the tension as he stepped between us, his hand resting possessively on Malia's back. The casual gesture made my stomach turn. It's all right, Gregory, Malia murmured, offering a faux sympathetic smile. She's in pain, we all are. I had to get out before I did something I couldn't take back. Grabbing my purse, I headed for the exit, ignoring the whispers trailing behind me. Ian, my best friend since college, fell into step beside me. Need help hiding a body? He asked as we reached my car. Which one? He smirked. I've got shovels in my garage, just say the word. Back at Mom's house, I refused to think of it as Dad's. I went straight to her study. I needed to be near her, to remind myself who she really was, not the fragile woman Malia was trying to fabricate. Your mom was meticulous, Ian noted from the doorway as I sifted through her filing cabinet. Maybe too meticulous. He was right. Every folder was labeled, every drawer neatly arranged. Mom had always been organized, which was why the unmarked box tucked at the bottom caught my attention. Inside, beneath a stack of old photographs, I found an envelope with my name on it. The handwriting was unmistakably hers, but shakier than usual, hurried. What's that? Ian stepped closer. Carefully, I unfolded the letter. My dearest Hope. If you're reading this, then my suspicions were correct. They think they've won, but I wasn't as naive as they believed. Everything you need is in the safe behind your father's Monet. The combination is the date you broke your arm falling from the apple tree. You were so brave that day, and you'll need to be brave now. Trust Lucille, trust yourself. All my love, Mom. My hands trembled. Ian, look at this. I passed him the legal document that had been tucked inside while I reread the note. Holy, he whispered. Hope, this changes everything. What is it? I demanded. It's proof that your father and Malia, Hope, they've been plotting this for years. Your mom knew. I thought back to Malia's carefully crafted performance at the funeral, my father's protective hand on her back, my mother sitting alone in this very study, hurriedly writing these words. Tomorrow, I said firmly. Lucille asked me to come to her office tomorrow. What are you going to do? I stared at my mother's familiar handwriting, at the faint shake in the ink strokes that hinted at her urgency. I'm going to make them pay, every last one of them. Ian nodded, his expression darkening. I'll bring the shovels. This time, I didn't laugh. I was done laughing. It was time to show them exactly who they were dealing with. At Lucille's office the next day, everything looked the same leather chairs, same shelves packed with law books, same ever-present scent of coffee, but today, everything felt different. Your mother came to me 6 months ago, Lucille said, sliding a manila folder across her desk. She sensed something was off with Gregory, but she couldn't prove it. I hesitated. The document I found is just a fraction of the evidence. Lucille leaned in. Susan was brilliant. Hope, while Gregory and his accomplice thought they were pulling the strings, your mother was playing a far more strategic game. I flipped open the folder. Inside were bank records, emails, photographs. My fingers froze on an image of my father and Malia at a restaurant. The timestamp read 3 years ago. Mom had still been healthy then. 3 years. My voice cracked. They'd been longer, Lucille said gently, but that's not the worst of it. Tell me. Lucille pulled another document from her drawer. Gregory wasn't just having an affair, he was systematically transferring company assets, setting up to take full control. His plan was to declare your mother mentally incompetent. I shot to my feet. That's impossible. Mom was perfectly. Of course she was, Lucille said calmly, but with enough concerned witnesses. She lifted a brow. Malia's brother, Eugene, works at the hospital. He was going to falsify medical records. My phone vibrated, Ian's name flashing on the screen. Malia just went into your dad's office. Want me to follow? I showed the text to Lucille. She gave me a knowing look. Your mother prepared for this. That's why she asked Ian to take that job at your father's company 3 months ago. My head snapped up. Wait, what? Ian got that job because Susan trusted him to have your back. Lucille handed me another document. This is what they don't know exists, she said. Your mother's true will, and a record of every betrayal they've orchestrated. I exhaled, gripping the folder tightly. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Why didn't she expose them while she was still alive? Because she was protecting you. Gregory had the board convinced he was the only one fit to run the company. If Susan had accused him outright, the backlash could have destroyed everything she built. Lucille locked eyes with me, but now, with you in place. My phone buzzed again. Ian, you need to hear this. Can I record them? Tell him yes, Lucille instructed, glancing over my shoulder, but make sure it's done carefully. We need it to hold up in court. I typed quickly, yes, but don't get caught. Lucille's voice softened, but the weight of her words was heavier than ever. Hope, there's something else. The night before your mother died, she called me. She was planning to confront Gregory. She'd found proof of something bigger. A chill ran through me. What are you saying? Lucille's next words sent my stomach plummeting. I'm saying your mother's death may not have been an accident at all. The room blurred for a moment as I gripped the arms of my chair. No, the police ruled it natural causes. Lucille's voice dropped, but Susan had a full medical checkup 2 weeks prior. She was perfectly healthy. My phone buzzed again, a voice recording from Ian. I hit play and set it on speaker. Everything's set. Malia's voice came through, slightly muffled. Eugene has the paperwork ready. Once Hope signs over her proxy votes. She won't, my father interrupted. She's already suspicious. Then we'll have to persuade her, or find another way. We've come too far to let your daughter ruin this. Be careful, my father warned. She's smarter than you think. Please, Malia scoffed. She's grieving, vulnerable. A little push in the right direction. I stopped the recording, my hands clenched in rage. They're planning something, Lucille said firmly. We have to act carefully. Your mother left behind a plan, but we're running out of time. What's our first move? Lucille slid a business card toward me. This is Detective Sarah Martinez. Your mother trusted her. Bring her everything we have, but don't press charges yet. We need Gregory and Malia to believe they're still in control. And then? Lucille's expression darkened. Then we follow Susan's plan. She knew exactly how to dismantle their empire. She tapped the desk, starting with Eugene. Your mother suspected he might be their weak link. My phone vibrated again. Ian, meeting's over. But Hope, there's something else. I found documents in your dad's office about your mom's last night. You need to see these. I turned the screen to Lucille. Good, she said. Now we have a place to start. Are you ready? Once we begin, there's no turning back. I thought of my mother alone in her study, writing that note. Malia's bright red lipstick at the funeral. My father's hand on her back. I'm ready, I said. Let's make them pay. The hospital cafeteria was nearly empty when Eugene slid into the seat across from me. His scrubs were wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. He looked nothing like his polished sister. I shouldn't be here, he muttered, glancing around nervously. If Malia finds out. She won't. I pushed a coffee cup toward him. Unless you tell her. He gripped the cup but didn't take a sip. What do you want, Hope? The truth. About my mother's last night here. My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. I know you were on duty. His face went pale. I can't. It's all in the official report. You mean the report that conveniently vanished from her medical file? I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo Ian had taken. The one that was swapped for this version? Eugene's hands trembled. Where did you get that? Does it matter? What matters is that I have both versions, and the signatures don't match. He shot up from his seat. I have to go. Sit down, I said, my voice cold, or I take these straight to the medical board. He hesitated, then slowly sat back down. Good choice. I leaned in. Now, tell me how my mother really died. I didn't, he swallowed hard. I didn't know what they were planning. Malia said they just wanted to scare her, to make her sign some documents. A lump formed in my throat. What kind of documents? Transfer of power forms. Your father needed her signature to gain full control of the company. Eugene wiped his forehead, but she refused. She said she had proof of something, that she was going to expose them. And then? Malia gave her something, told me it would just make her sleep for a little while. His voice cracked. I swear, I didn't know, but when she started having complications. My fingers tightened around my coffee cup until it crumpled, sending hot liquid spilling across the table. You helped them kill my mother. No. His eyes darted around in panic as he lowered his voice. I mean, the dose shouldn't have. Your mother must have had an unknown condition. Like the one Malia convinced everyone she had? I slid another document across the table. The fake mental health evaluations you helped fabricate? Eugene squeezed his eyes shut. They have leverage on me too. Hope. Malia knows about mistakes I made during my residency. If she exposes them, my career is over. Your career? I let out a sharp laugh. My mother is dead, and you're worried about your job? I can help you, he said desperately. I kept records, copies of everything, including what really happened that night. My phone buzzed, another text from Ian. Ian, Malia just arrived, 3rd floor. Your sister's here, I said, standing. Better decide fast whose side you're on. Wait, Eugene grabbed my wrist. Tomorrow, meet me at the river park by the old carousel, 8 a.m. I'll bring everything. I shook him off. If you're lying. I'm not, I swear. His voice dropped. But, Hope, be careful. Malia doesn't just want the company, she wants it all. The house, the art collection, everything your mother loved. Why tell me now? Because I overheard them talking. His voice was barely a whisper. They're planning something big, and after what happened to your mother. The sharp click of heels against tile made Eugene tense. Malia was close. 8 a.m., I said, gathering my things. Don't be late. I was almost at the door when Malia appeared, her red lips stretching into a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Hope, what a surprise. She glanced past me to where Eugene sat. Catching up with my brother? Just getting some clarity about my mother's last night, I replied evenly. Funny how stories change depending on who tells them. Her smile tightened. Grief has a way of distorting memory, dear. We all just want answers when we lose someone. I met her gaze without flinching. Oh, don't worry, I said coolly, I'll get my answers. I took a step forward, lowering my voice to a whisper. And that red lipstick you love so much? My mother thought it made you look desperate. I didn't wait for a response. The sharp inhale behind me was enough. As I reached my car, my phone vibrated again. Ian, Eugene just bolted out the back. Malia looks like she's about to explode. What did you do? Me, planted a seed. I sent the message before another one popped up, this time from an unknown number. Your mother asked too many questions. Don't make the same mistake. I snapped a screenshot and sent it to Detective Martinez, my hand steady despite the chill creeping down my spine. Then, I started the car, scanning my rearview mirror before pulling out. Tomorrow at 8 a.m., couldn't come fast enough, but first, I had a will to find, hidden behind a painting that had seen too many family secrets. The next morning, the old carousel creaked in the early morning wind, its faded horses frozen mid-gallop. The bench remained empty at 8:15 a.m. My untouched coffee growing cold. He's not coming, Ian murmured beside me. I shook my head. We wait. Then, movement, a figure running toward us. Eugene. He clutched a messenger bag, his face pale, blood trickling from a fresh cut above his brow. They know, he panted, collapsing onto the bench. Malia found out about our meeting. They were waiting at my apartment. Ian handed him a water bottle. Who was waiting? 2 guys I didn't recognize, professionals. His hands trembled as he opened the bag. I got out through the fire escape, but they took my phone. Here, take this before they find me. He shoved a USB drive and a stack of documents into my hands. It's all here, the real medical reports, hospital security footage from that night. He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder, and financial records. Your father's been stealing from the company for years. Malia helped him cover it up. We need to get you somewhere safe, I said. But Eugene was already rising. I have a friend in Seattle. If I leave now. A voice cut through the air. Eugene. My father approached, Malia at his side, their faces unreadable. Eugene stiffened. Run, he whispered. Then he bolted for the parking lot. My father ignored him, his focus locked on the papers in my hands. Hope, sweetheart, he said smoothly, whatever Eugene told you. Is it true? I interrupted. Did you kill Mom? His face barely flickered. Don't be ridiculous. Your mother was sick. No, I said, voice steel. She wasn't. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Mom's voice filled the silence. Gregory, I know about the missing money, about you and Malia. I have proof. Susan, be reasonable. I'm taking this to the board tomorrow. It's over. The audio ended. My father's jaw clenched. Where did you get that? Mom knew what you were planning. She recorded everything. His eyes darkened. Give me those papers, Hope. Malia stepped forward, her voice honeyed. You don't understand what you're dealing with. I took a step back, like you didn't understand what you were giving my mother that night. My grip on the documents tightened. Eugene told me everything. He's confused, Malia cooed, exhausted. He's been making mistakes. Enough. I pulled out one last paper, the real will. Turns out, Mom planned for this too. My father's face drained of color. That's impossible. You saw what she wanted you to see, I said. She knew you'd try to erase her. Malia's calm cracked. Gregory, do something. He lunged for me just as sirens filled the air. I stepped back. That would be Detective Martinez. My father's mask flickered back into place. Hope, we can talk about this. No, we can't. Detective Martinez strode toward us, badge flashing. Gregory Freeman, she said, you and Miss Scott need to come with us. We have questions about Susan Freeman's death. As officers led them away, Malia twisted to glare at me. This isn't over. I met her gaze. You're right. It's just beginning. Ian's arm slipped around my shoulders. You okay? I stared at the papers in my hands, proof of the lies and betrayals that had defined my life. No, I admitted, but I will be. Somewhere. I hoped Mom was watching, and smiling. The aftermath. Lucille tossed the morning newspaper onto her desk. Malia and my father's mugshots stared up at us. They made bail, she said flatly. Money talks, Ian muttered, especially stolen money. What's their next move? I asked, watching Ian pace. Now they get desperate, Lucille replied, pulling up her laptop. Malia's been busy. Look. Bank transfers, property sales, the rapid liquidation of my mother's art and antiques. They're selling everything she loved, I whispered. They're gathering cash, Ian said, but why? Why not just run? My phone rang. Detective Martinez's voice was sharp. Hope, are you somewhere safe? I'm at Lucille's office. What's wrong? Eugene's friend in Seattle called us. He never arrived. My stomach lurched. What? His bus ticket was bought but never used. I gripped the edge of the desk. You think they? We found his phone dumped at the station. The last message sent was to someone named Marcus. I swallowed. What did it say? Martinez hesitated. They found me. Tell Hope to check the hospital basement security. The message cut off. My pulse pounded in my ears. Martinez's voice hardened. I'm sending officers to you now. Don't go anywhere alone. I ended the call and turned to Lucille and Ian. The hospital basement? Ian frowned. Why there? The old records archive? A realization hit me. Mom used to mention it. They keep physical backups of everything down there. Lucille stood abruptly. Hope, no, it's too dangerous. Let the police handle it. Eugene put everything on the line to help us, I said, already grabbing my bag. Whatever's down there, they're desperate to keep it hidden. I can't just walk away. Then I'm coming with you, Ian said. No, I placed a hand on his arm. I need you to do something else. Remember what Mom said about the safe behind the Monet? His expression tightened, but he nodded. Get whatever's inside. Take Lucille with you. She has the spare key to the house. And if anything happens, don't. Ian pulled me into a fierce hug. Just be careful. The hospital basement. Dim fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows in the maze of hallways. My footsteps echoed against the concrete as I followed the faded signs toward record storage. A sudden crash echoed from up ahead, my pulse jumped. I ducked into a doorway, heart hammering. It has to be here somewhere, Malia's sharp voice snapped through the silence. Keep looking. A man's voice, unfamiliar, low, and impatient. We should have dealt with the girl first, he muttered. Malia let out a huff. Gregory's gone soft on her, she said, but once we find these records, she won't matter anymore. Peering around the corner, I saw them, Malia and two men rifling through file cabinets, papers strewn across the floor. In the corner, slumped in a chair, was Eugene, unmoving. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out cautiously. Ian, got the safe open. Hope, you need to see this. Your mom left a video. Another crash inside the records room. This is useless. Malia kicked over a box, sending files flying. Where would that nosy? Maybe we're looking in the wrong place, one of the men suggested. The girl must have it, that's why she was at the park today. Then we make her tell us where it is. Malia's voice went ice cold. Get Eugene up, he's our leverage. I backed away, moving slowly, but my heel clipped a metal tray. Clang. The sound rang through the basement like a gunshot. Someone's here. Footsteps thundered toward me. I turned and ran. Hallways blurred past me as I took sharp turns, trying to remember the way out. Behind me, the rapid clicks of Malia's heels echoed like a countdown. My phone buzzed again. Martinez, officers entering hospital now. Where are you? No time to reply. I shoved through a heavy door and found myself in a narrow maintenance corridor. Dead end. A slow, taunting voice drifted down the hall. Hope, Malia called sweetly, come out, darling, we just want to talk. Pressing myself against the cold wall, I typed frantically, sending my location to Martinez. You know, Malia continued, her footsteps drawing closer, your mother had a choice, she could have walked away, she could have lived, but she... The maintenance door groaned open. Found you. Malia's red lips curved into a smile as she stepped inside. Now, she purred, about those records. Freeze, police. Martinez's voice cut through the air like a gunshot. Flashlights blazed, officers swarmed in from both ends of the corridor. Malia Scott, you're under arrest for the kidnapping of Eugene Scott and the suspected murder of Susan Freeman. As they cuffed Malia, Martinez turned to me. Eugene's alive, she said, paramedics are on their way, but, Hope, what were they looking for? I thought of Ian's message, the video. Evidence, I said, but not from here, Mom left it somewhere else, somewhere they'd never think to look. My phone buzzed once more. Ian, you need to see this video, now, your mom, she knew exactly what they were planning, and she left you the perfect way to end this. I looked at Martinez. Want to help me finish what my mother started? She smirked. Lead the way. The truth comes out. Mom's face appeared on the laptop screen, looking exhausted but determined. The timestamp read, 3 days before her death. Hope, my darling girl, she said, her voice steady, if you're watching this, then everything I feared has come to pass. She held up a familiar red leather notebook. But I've left you everything you need, right here. The room was silent as Ian, Lucille, Martinez, and I leaned in, watching. Rain pattered against the windows outside. Your father and Malia think they're untouchable with their offshore accounts and shell corporations, Mom continued, but they forgot one thing. She flipped open the notebook, revealing pages of handwritten notes, transaction logs, and intricate diagrams. Every embezzled dollar, every hidden account, every forged document, it's all in here, but that's not the real key. She leaned closer to the camera. The real evidence is hidden in plain sight, in the one place they'd never think to look. A memory sparked in my mind, the art collection. The paintings, I whispered, remembering how Malia had been scrambling to sell them. Each one, Mom continued, is more than just artwork, it's a ledger, every purchase, every insurance record, it's all a paper trail of money laundering that spans years. Your father used my collection to clean his dirty money. Martinez swore under her breath, that's why they've been selling them so fast. But here's what they don't know. Mom's lips curled into a knowing smile, the same one she used in high-stakes negotiations. I switched the documentation. The real papers are hidden inside the frames themselves. Every single painting in that house is evidence of their crimes. Ian exhaled sharply. That's why Malia was so desperate to get her hands on them. Mom's voice softened. The reading of my will is scheduled for tomorrow at 10. They'll be there, thinking they've won. But you, my brave girl, you'll know better. She held up a key. This unlocks a safety deposit box at First National. Inside, you'll find everything you need, including one final surprise. The screen went black. I looked at Martinez. How fast can you get a warrant for the bank? Give me an hour. The final move. The safety deposit box contained more than we expected. Documents, photos, USB drives packed with financial records, and a sealed envelope labeled, "For the board of directors, open only in emergency." Lucille checked her watch. The will reading starts in 30 minutes. They'll all be there, Martinez added, including your father's lawyers. I closed the box with a snap. Perfect, I said, time to finish this. The conference room at Lucille's office was packed. At the head of the table sat my father, trying to appear composed despite his disheveled suit. His lawyers flanked him like sentinels. Lucille cleared her throat. Before we begin, Hope has something to share with the board. I set Mom's red notebook in front of them. This belonged to my mother, I said, and she wanted you all to see exactly what's inside. One of my father's lawyers shifted. This is highly irregular. The will reading should proceed. Oh, it will, Lucille said smoothly. But first, let's talk about what's really been happening in this company. I flipped open the notebook, my hand steady despite the weight of what I was about to reveal. 5 years ago, my father started funneling stolen money through fraudulent art deals. Every painting in our collection was tied to an illegal transaction. I spread out the documents from the safety deposit box. These are the actual records, the ones my mother hid inside the frames. The board members leaned in, their murmurs filling the room as they examined the proof. This is ridiculous, my father shot to his feet. I won't stand for these baseless. Sit down, Gregory. The chairman's voice sliced through the tension like a blade. The figures, the accounts. And this, I continued, holding up Mom's final report, is her last act as CFO. She documented everything. She knew what you were doing. She was building a case. Until you silenced her, Martinez said, stepping into the room with a warrant in hand. Eugene's alive, by the way. He's ready to tell the truth. My father's expression crumbled. His lawyers were already packing up, realizing they had no ground left to stand on. The paintings, he muttered, his voice barely audible. Where are they? They're safe, I said firmly, just like every single piece of evidence Mom collected. It's over. The chairman stood. This meeting is adjourned. Gregory, you are officially suspended. Pending investigation, the authorities will take it from here. As Martinez led him away, he turned to me one last time. Hope, please, I'm still your father. I met his gaze, unwavering. No, you stopped being my father the moment you chose power over Mom's life. The room emptied, leaving only me, Ian, and Lucille. She'd be proud of you, Lucille said, squeezing my hand. I ran my fingers over the worn leather of Mom's notebook. She always knew greed would be their downfall. She just had to make sure the truth survived. Ian exhaled. So, what now? I thought of Mom's video, of her unwavering determination. Now, I said, we rebuild, just like she would have wanted. The courtroom fell silent as Malia took the stand. Her usual striking red lipstick had been replaced with a softer pink. She wore a conservative gray suit, playing the part of the remorseful bystander. I cared about Gregory, she said, dabbing at fake tears. I never meant for any of this to happen. But you played a role in Susan Freeman's murder, the prosecutor countered. Objection, her lawyer snapped. Sustained. The prosecutor shifted gears. Miss Scott, can you explain these text messages exchanged with your brother the night Susan died? Malia's face stiffened as the messages appeared on the screen. It's done. Make sure the dosage looks normal in the records. I was talking about a medication adjustment, she stammered. Eugene often asked for my advice. On murder, the prosecutor cut it, because according to Eugene's testimony, that's exactly what this was. Eugene sat in the gallery behind me, still bearing fading bruises from his time in the hospital basement. He refused to meet his sister's desperate gaze. Let's discuss the art collection, the prosecutor pressed. You and Gregory used it to launder money, didn't you? I had no idea about any of that, Malia insisted. Gregory handled all the finances. Then why is your signature on every transaction? He held up a stack of documents. And these bank records show you personally facilitated the transfers. Malia's mask cracked. You don't understand. We had to do it. The company was fine. I interrupted. You were just greedy. Order in the court, the judge barked. Malia turned her glare on me, all pretense of innocence vanishing. You think you've won? She spat. You have no idea what you've done. Your mother was worth 10 of you. I kept my voice steady, and I finished what she started. The judge banged the gavel. Miss Scott, answer the question about the financial transfers. But Malia had lost her composure. She was going to ruin everything, all our plans, all our work. She had to be stopped. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Malia's lawyer scrambled for damage control, but it was too late. Just as Martinez had predicted, she had sealed her own fate. Your Honor, the prosecutor said with a knowing smile, the state rests. During recess, Ian found me in the hallway. Your father's lawyers called, he said. They want to negotiate a deal. I shook my head. No deals. We watched as Malia was led away in handcuffs. Mom deserves justice. Eugene approached hesitantly. I know I have no right to ask, but, will you tell them I helped, that I tried to make things right? I studied the man who had once covered up my mother's murder, but had later risked everything to expose the truth. I already did, I said quietly. That's why you're testifying from here and not from a prison cell. His shoulders slumped in relief. Thank you, Anne. I'm sorry, for everything, Miss Freeman. Martinez joined us. We need to go over your testimony for Gregory's trial tomorrow. As Eugene walked away, Ian turned to me. You okay? Look at this. I showed him my phone. The company's stock had surged ever since Malia's confession. Mom was right. The truth does set things free. Ian hesitated. There's something I need to tell you, he finally said. That night, before your mom, before everything, she asked me to take a job at the company. I frowned. She never told me that. Because it wasn't just about the company, he admitted. She made me promise to look after you, not just through this, but after. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. She said she always knew I loved you. The world seemed to still. Ian. I know this isn't the best time, he said quickly, not with everything going on, but your mom was right. I've loved you since college. I just never knew how to say it. I didn't think. I just kissed him. Right there, in the middle of the courthouse, while lawyers and reporters bustled past. He froze for a second, then pulled me closer. Lucille's voice broke us apart. Well, she said with a smirk, took you too long enough. She chuckled, then added softly, Susan would be so happy. Then her smile faded, but for now, we need to get back inside. The jury's coming back. As we walked toward the courtroom, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your mother kept a journal in her bedside table. Read it when you're ready. M. Martinez. It had to be. Ian squeezed my hand as we reached the courtroom doors. Ready? I took a deep breath. Yeah, let's finish this. I thought about Mom's video, about her quiet strength, her careful planning, and how she had seen everything, including Ian and me, long before we had. Ready, I said, pushing open the doors to face whatever came next. The key felt heavy in my palm as I unlocked Mom's bedroom door for the first time since she was gone. Everything remained untouched. Her reading glasses rested on the nightstand beside a half-finished novel, frozen in time. Want me to wait outside? Ian asked from the doorway. I shook my head. Stay. I pulled open the bedside drawer and found what Martinez had mentioned, a black leather journal, worn from years of use, filled with Mom's elegant script. The last entry was dated the night she died. My dearest Hope. By now, you've uncovered the truth. You've faced your father's betrayal and Malia's deception, but there's one last thing you need to know. I didn't just leave you evidence of their crimes, I left you a choice. In the garden, beneath the rose bushes we planted together when you were 12, there's a sealed envelope. Inside is everything needed to destroy your father completely, not just in court, but in the eyes of the world. But exposing it comes with a cost, the same cost I bore for keeping secrets, the weight of knowing you had the power to ruin someone completely. The choice is yours, my brave girl. Choose wisdom over vengeance. Choose the future over the past. All my love. Mom. I closed the journal, my hands trembling. The rose bushes, I whispered, help me dig. The evening sun cast a warm glow over the garden as we unearthed the envelope, exactly where Mom had said it would be, sealed, untouched, waiting. "Whatever's inside," Ian said softly, "you don't have to decide now." Before I could respond, my phone rang. "Detective Martinez. The jury's reached a verdict," she said. "They're reconvening in an hour." I glanced at the envelope, then at the roses Mom had loved so much. "I'll be there," I said, "but first, I need to make a stop." The prison visiting room was cold and sterile. My father sat across from me, his expensive suits replaced by an orange jumpsuit. "Hope." His expression was a mix of shock and curiosity. "What are you?" I placed the unopened envelope on the table between us. "Mom left this for me," I said. "Inside is evidence that would completely destroy what's left of your name. You have a choice. Tell the truth in court today, or I open it." He stared at the envelope for a long moment. "You're just like her," he murmured. "She gave me the same choice once. I made the wrong decision. And now?" He exhaled, pushing the envelope back toward me. "I'll tell the truth, not because of what's in there, but because," his voice wavered, "because I owe her that much. And you." The courtroom was packed as the jury returned. Malia sat stiffly beside her lawyer, while Eugene watched from the witness stand. "Guilty on all counts," the foreman announced. As the judge read the sentences, 20 years for my father, 25 for Malia, I felt a weight lift from my chest. Outside the courthouse, reporters bombarded me with questions about the company's future. "Freeman Industries will continue under new leadership," I said firmly, with a renewed commitment to my mother's values, integrity, innovation, and community. That evening, I stood in the garden, the envelope still tucked in my pocket. "What are you going to do with it?" Ian asked, joining me by the roses. I pulled out Mom's old silver lighter, the one she had carried for years. "Choose wisdom over vengeance," I whispered, touching the flame to the envelope's corner. We watched in silence as it curled and blackened, turning to ash. Lucille's voice called from the garden path. "Your mother would be proud," she said, holding up a bottle of wine. "I thought we might toast to new beginnings." We gathered in the garden, reminiscing about Mom. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Eugene. "Starting my residency in Seattle next week. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Your mom was right about forgiveness being stronger than revenge." I looked around at the people who mattered: Ian, who had been by my side through everything; Lucille, who had helped Mom's final plan unfold; and the roses, which held so many memories. "To Susan," Lucille said, raising her glass, "who taught us all how to fight with grace." "To Mom," I echoed. "Who knew that the best revenge isn't destruction," Ian added, squeezing my hand. "It's living well." The evening light bathed the roses in gold. Somewhere, I hoped Mom was watching, knowing that her legacy lived on, not in vengeance, but in love, wisdom, and the courage to rise above the past. I had finally learned her most important lesson. True justice isn't about making others fall, it's about choosing to stand in the light. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Stay stunned.